And we now call cause number 23 CR 774, the state of Texas versus Jorge Manuel Herrera. Before we get started, it's my understanding, Ms. Minaldi's defense and the state's attorney is here and the probation officer is here as well. Now, it's my understanding the defendant primarily speaks Spanish. Is that true? So we have a fine translator. Please tell us your name, ma'am, and how long you have been translating in the courts.
Erica Birch, and I've been translating for the court since November of 2024.
When?
November 2024 is when I.
Seems like longer than that. But you've been translating for years outside of courts.
Correct, Judge.
Your whole life, probably.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you're fluent in Spanish and English and maybe other languages. All right, the court, of course, certainly is honored to have this lady here today. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will properly, accurately translate from English to Spanish, Spanish to English? The defendant speaks Spanish, his Spanish statements to English so that we all, court reporter and parties can hear, and statements in English that we propound to him, they will be translated into Spanish with the language he understands, and you will do that accurately. So help you God.
Yes, Judge.
Good, thank you. All right, does the defendant waive a formal reading of this motion to revoke unadjudicated probation filed on October 3rd of 2024? Can we proceed in summary?
Yes.
In summary, this motion to revoke probation alleges that on November 27th, 2023, that you were placed on 10 years deferred or unadjudicated probation in this court for the third-degree felony of stalking. Is that true, Mr. Herrera?
Yes.
And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, Mr. Herrera, do you solemnly swear or affirm you will, any answers to questions that are made to you by the attorney or by the judge or the attorneys, your answers will be accurate and correct and honest, so help you God? Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, lower your hand. Okay, once again, were you placed on 10 years deferred or unadjudicated probation in this court on November 27th, 2023?
Yes. Yes.
If that's what all the records show, would you dispute that? Would that be correct?
Yes.
All right. Allegation one, what is he gonna admit to? We've got one is a urine sample, propane.
Yes, sir.
All right. Allegation one states you provided a urine sample on or about September 16th, 2024, which showed the presence of cocaine in your system, which is a violation of your probation order. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you pleading true to that allegation voluntarily and because it is true as it is alleged in this motion?
Yes. Yes.
Do you understand that a voluntary and truthful answer of true to one or more violations of probation is all that it takes? That is sufficient to grant the motion to revoke probation. Your probation can be revoked. You can now be found guilty and sentenced no less than 2 nor more than 10 years confinement in prison for the stalking probation that you were charged with originally. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Knowing that and appreciating that, do you still insist on pleading true to allegation one here as a violation? See?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay. I find the defendant is pleading true voluntarily, knowingly, intelligently, and based upon discussions with his attorney. An agreement's been reached here where your probation would be revoked. You would be found guilty, sentenced to 4 years in prison to run concurrently with another case. Is that true?
Yes.
If I follow this agreement, you have no right of appeal. Do you understand, sir?
Sick.
Yes.
I show you here what's marked as State's Exhibit 1. Did you sign that document? Did you understand it, discuss it with your attorney, or the contents all true and correct?
Yes.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 1 is tendered into
No
evidence
objection.
without objection admitted. Among other things, this states that you understand and appreciate the decisions you are making, that this is all true and correct, that you were going to be pleading, it's inferred you were pleading true here voluntarily, knowingly, and upon discussions with your attorney, and you understand if I follow this agreement, you have no right of appeal. You move on with your life and do better. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay, from probation, Ms. Vega,
Yes.
anything you want to add here? Because sometimes we just don't give the probation officers the respect that they have deserved, because I know you hate to see failure in any case, and you've got the probation office, I'm proud to always proclaim has over a 90% success rate, which is a world record, I think, because the average is 75% across the country. So y'all do a great job. Anything you want to add?
Yes.
I'm going to follow this agreement if nothing further and find Mr. Herrera, you are pleading true voluntarily. You are mentally competent to do so. You understand and appreciate the consequences of pleading true to allegation number 1, which is a violation of your probation. I find that this is proven true by a preponderance of the evidence or greater. The motion to revoke unadjudicated probation is hereby granted, and your deferred or unadjudicated probation is hereby revoked. Earlier in this case, and it would have been November of 2023, you pleaded guilty voluntarily, knowingly, intelligently. There was sufficient evidence supporting your guilty plea to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I placed you on deferred or unadjudicated probation at that time. Now your probation is hereby revoked, and you are hereby found guilty of that underlying 3rd-degree felony of stalking. I am following this agreement. You are hereby sentenced to confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 4 years. This sentence shall run with another sentence that you have. Do you understand what has happened today, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck.
You just did one, and I believe.
Oh, is there
that
another?
When you were referencing that it would run concurrent, there's a separate matter he was on probation for.
That's correct, Judge. So that one needs to have a formal hearing to revoke that probation and sentence him to the.
Oh, I thought he had.
So you did the stalking and caused him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that was already. The way I was reading this was wrong, obviously.
I should have corrected you.
It says,
Judge, I apologize.
since we're on concurrently with 23 CR 1096, I just assumed that had already been disposed.
No, sir.
Disposing of both today.
He was actually.
It's going to run the sentence, to clarify the record. The sentence that I just sentenced you on, sentenced you to 4 years in 23 CR 774. It is to run concurrently with the disposition in 23 CR 1096, which is a burglary of a habitation. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Does the defendant waive a formal reading of this motion to revoke adjudicated probation in 1096? Can we proceed in summary?
Yes, Judge.
In summary, this motion states that on November 27th, 2023, in this court, you were placed on 10 years deferred or unadjudicated probation for burglary of a habitation. Is that true?
Yes.
Allegation 1, as in the previous case, it's the same allegation, states you provided a urine sample to the probation office as part of your probation order, and it tested positive for cocaine, which is a violation of condition 10 of your deferred adjudication order. Also, condition 1, do not commit an offense, but also you must not be using controlled substances unless approved otherwise. And we just don't give approval for cocaine as medical use. Is this allegation true and correct as you previously pleaded in another case?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you pleading true and correct voluntarily and because it is true?
Yes.
And again, I'm going to remind you, a voluntary and truthful plea of true to one or more violations of probation, that is enough to grant the motion to revoke unadjudicated probation by a preponderance of the evidence or greater. Your probation can be revoked, found guilty, and then sentenced for that burglary of a habitation. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I still find that this is proven by a preponderance of the evidence or greater. The motion to revoke probation in this case is hereby granted, and your deferred or unadjudicated probation is hereby revoked. Earlier in this case, you pleaded guilty voluntarily. You were mentally competent to do so. You understood and appreciated the consequences of pleading guilty. There was sufficient evidence supporting your guilty plea from State's Exhibit 1 admitted at that earlier plea hearing to find you guilty if your probation is revoked, as I am doing now. I hereby find you guilty of this burglary of the habitation that you were placed on deferred or unadjudicated probation for. I find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Your probation is hereby revoked. I am following this agreement. You were hereby sentenced to confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to serve a term of 4 years imprisonment. These two sentences will run concurrently at the same time. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
That is all. Yes.
You need to get his document, please.
Sí, puede pasar que te lo van a tomar tu turno.
Right, thumbprint?